Hello and welcome to a new series here on 381 Gaming. I am Baron Harryson and we're going to be playing some City Skylines. Just going to walk you through this little time lapse. My goal was to start the city off and then get some feedback from people and really go from there. As you can see, I'm creating a little island out here. Basically, I was going to make this the utility island. Probably change as time goes on, probably make it more specific to water or power. Right now it's kind of just a universal kind of thing. I've got water, power, and eventually you'll see me put in cargo shipping harbor, as well as I think I've got sanitation out here. So it's basically just like I wanted to get this island out here to start the city so I didn't have to worry about all the utilities and have all the citizens screaming for stuff. Really wanted it to have a man-made shape to it. I didn't want it to be very organic, so you can see like up the road around the outside of it and really like cleave the ground away from it. The water physics in this game really crack me up sometimes. It's like whenever you move land, you generally get flooding somewhere, even on the land you've raised. It's kind of odd, but it's just one of those things you have to deal with. Now, here's that cargo harbor I was talking about. Just wanted to get this in here so that we could get some goods and services to our citizens once we start building a little bit of residential and commercial. This FedEx building in here, thinking that I was going to do a lot more with just like cargo on this island, but then it kind of evolved more into that utility island. Here I am putting in water, and then I realized that I needed to put this train line in. So of course I had to do a level crossing there, which later you'll see me kind of change. I'm also thinking about changing the way the rail line goes over the road. I think I might have it turn sooner and kind of follow the coastline instead of following the backside of the road. And there goes the FedEx building that I put in earlier because I realized that I needed the room for the water treatment plant. Really liked that asset, by the way. The water treatment plant makes it feel quite a bit more realistic, as opposed to having the inflow and outflow pipes. I'm putting in this little peninsula, which later on I'll put a lighthouse on. So I wanted to make sure that we didn't have any like traffic slowdowns at the level crossing, so I did put in a little raised overpass so that cars can get past that pretty quickly. I really like this asset as well. I saw Fresh Popcorn use this. It's like a modular recycling. It's a really nice asset. Basically what I'm doing here is just laying down some more roads, getting some zoning in, and basically just gonna put in a bunch of parking. That's pretty much how the rest of this island goes, so I'm just gonna sit back and I'll pick back up here in a couple of minutes. down here I'm putting in a research center, and I put in the Eden project just because I didn't really want to have to bother with pollution and that kind of stuff. Let me know your thoughts on that. Do you think that that's really kind of a cheat? I mean, it really is a cheat, but let me know if you like that idea or if you don't like that idea. But basically what I'm just doing here is I wanted it to kind of have a different level to it, so that it was a little bit of a topographical visual interest. I'm just trying to get the parts to fit. I kind of liked those three items together, that research center, the two pieces of that research center. Here I'm just trying to build a simple, kind of realistic interchange to get cars on and off of the expressway. Nothing too fancy. The fact that it does come out over the water a little bit does... I'm thinking about bringing the land out underneath it. Again, let me know in the comments what you think. I had to do this side a little bit shorter because of that rail line. And again, I'm thinking about running it down the coast just because I think that might give me, well, it definitely will give me more room for the interchange, but I think it might be a little more visually pleasing as well. As you can see, I'm a bit of an erratic player. I will jump from one project to another, back and forth. Just as I'm working, I'll think of something else that I wanted to do in that area that I was working in. And I'm definitely not into, I would like to do all the detail work to like flux trance and like fresh popcorn do. I don't really slap roads down and, just fill in as much land as possible. But I also don't, agonize over the little details or anything like that. This kind of that's not really an interchange, it's just a kind of intersection of three roads here. I want one to go up the hill, and then I want another one to kind of go down the coast. I redo this several times, and I think I'm finally kind of happy with the end result. Really, I wanted to build a little town up here on the top of this hill, and it got way bigger than I was really planning on. What I started out with is putting in sort of your basic grid pattern grid pattern roads with a city hall, and then later I come back and replace City Hall with a college and turn this all into a little college town, which I think makes a lot more sense. right here I'm just going and adding more lanes to this intersection, kind of like making it so the lanes work a little bit better, so that the traffic splits off into their own lanes through the intersection, as well as having extra lanes to merge back into. As anybody that's played this game knows, that the AI on the cars is kind of wonky. Everybody just sort of like immediately merges into the lane that they need to be in, and they don't fill all the lanes of traffic. So if you don't have a traffic manager mod installed, which I don't really, I mean, I have one installed, I just don't have it active. It's really all about just giving the cars lanes to get into, and you can manage almost every intersection just by doing that. Here I'm adding in a dirt road to get out to this lighthouse. I also add in some 1x1 custom parks that I made, which is just a little oak tree with a bench, a trash can, and a light. I highly recommend getting into the asset creator and creating some little custom 1x1 parks. Really makes it easier to get the electricity to jump from one place to another, as well as they look pretty. I have come to the realization that I only gave an off-ramp for that little dirt road, so like getting back onto the expressway is impossible there. I need to go back and fix that. Just putting in some bus lines here. Thinking about doing inter-district bus lines. In other words, just keeping the bus line within the district and then using train or subway to go from district to district. In the city, it would be by subway, and out in this sort of more rural area, out on the edge of the map, I would definitely be doing more train there. Here I'm just putting in some services like death care, and I think I dropped down some taxi stands and that kind of thing. I do put down in a little bit more of those 1x1 oak tree parks, those little custom parks. I really think those look nice, especially on this map, because it's got so many different oak trees in it to begin with. I added in some high density residential around the outside, which I go back later and remove because I just didn't like the way it looked when it was all said and done. now that I've got the main square of the college town done, start branching out and doing some suburbs, which really actually there's one main feature that I put in a little bit later that really took a lot of time and effort, and I'm quite proud of. It's kind of a big sort of county park. It's got a little lake in it, and but before that, we're gonna build a nice little residential neighborhood. My thought process behind it is that it'd be a little bit nicer neighborhood, considering it was right there by that park. So it has a nice entrance to it, and the roads kind of branch off as soon as you get in there. Some nice organic shapes. Originally, I'd do some like restrictive zoning in there, but then I just really wasn't satisfied with the size of houses that I was getting growing, so I went back in and increased all of the zoning to the full tiles, and I'm much more happy with the way it turned out. Right here's where I get into making a park. I wanted to put a nice ring road around it with bicycle paths on the sides. I think that made a lot of sense. And then the first thing that you're going to see when you come into the park is going to be obviously parking, which is one of those things about this game. It's like you just gotta put in a lot more parking than you really think, because it makes things look real. Seeing a school with 5 parking spaces beside it doesn't look very real. As soon as you throw in a nice little parking lot, it actually starts to look real, and you see people parking in it. It's quite satisfying. The level of detail in this game kind of amazes me sometimes. Like right there, you can see little guys playing basketball on the basketball court. It's kind of amazing. In the area where I live, we have a lot of county parks. They're really nice and really nicely maintained. And this is kind of my rendition of what you might see in the area where I live. Generally, you're going to have several ball fields, basketball courts, tennis courts, things like that, and again, tons and tons of parking. Here I'm just trying to add in a few details, some bike racks and that kind of stuff. Next thing I think I add in here is going to be like some baseball fields. No, actually I do some little rocks here on the end of this. This is also another thing in one of the parks in particular I can think of near me that has a nice place where they have, a bunch of huge rocks that have been purposely set there. This right here is actually the first time I've ever attempted to create a pond or lake or water feature of any kind. And as you can see, I immediately flood the place. Yeah, it turns out great in the end though. This grass that I use right here, this is that Gula's tall grass, I believe. I saw Fresh Popcorn do this on the edge of some water, and I thought it looked amazing, so I'm just stealing that idea here. I'd go back in and add in some taller grass as well to give it to make it look like reeds or something. I thought it looked really good up against the rocks and like coming out of the water. I thought it really nice. I was looking for a rowboat or something like that. I don't have one. I'm gonna have to go onto the workshop and try to find a rowboat. I think I just used a couple of speedboats in there. Don't look very realistic, but I definitely want a couple of boats floating around in the water there. Just adding in some like straight up park assets here, adding in like the pathways and stuff like that. I'm gonna add in a lot more of those walking paths just because I think they look great. Here I'm spamming the heck out of it with oak trees. I go back in and lighten them up just because it's a bit much when you get down into it. It looks great from above, but once you actually get down into the park, it looked like a bit too dense. So I went through and lightened it up a bit. I just want to thank everybody for watching. This is our first episode, so the next episode is going to be a little bit different. There might be some time lapse mixed in with some live portions, but definitely down there in those comments, please let me know what you'd like to see in the city, what you think we should name it. Give us a share, give us a like, please subscribe. You have a good day.